So we finally got Zatara's origins. And this is something that we've been wanting to hear because if you've watched up to this point so far, Zatanna so far hasn't really got anything what we can say has been used for us. She's been more of a sideline in this whole conflict with Clarion and the other Lord of Chaos. So finally getting Zatara's origins is very more appealing to us. And let us begin. Let's start talking about this.
Yeah, so I honestly like knowing and learning more about Zatara's origins than Vandal Savage's origins. I know that might be like very controversial.
Oh.
But but right now, like the story at least has Dr. Fate and Zatara doing something in the story. Vandal Savage isn't doing anything right now. Like he's kind of just standing there and looking at the earth, and I don't feel anything when we get his history. Like I'm glad we're getting it, but in terms of like when we're getting it, I think if we've been seeing like the history of each character that we're involved with right now, that would have been way more impactful and just better placed, in my opinion. It's sort of like Beast Boy's thing as well. Like he just sort of like appears, for the sake of appearing, and then it goes back to the main story. It almost doesn't really relate at all, and it kind of throws me out of it sometimes.
Yeah, it's quite funny because if I remember in the beginning of this arc, it showed Beast Boy with I forgot the hero's name.
Oh, Blue Devil?
Yeah, Blue Devil. Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually get to see Blue Devil, fight
like helping out. Yeah.
Yeah, helping out in something. So I would imagine Beast Boy. But who knows? Seeming that the way this arc is going, and you were right that this arc was gonna last more than 4 episodes. Maybe Beast Boy is going to do something that it's actually going to be involved. Because at this point, it seems like
I really hope so.
The whole league is involved. So I'm really, this was an interesting thing. But yeah, Zatara's origins, I liked it. We get to see his perspective, the whole thing, and they're kind of hinting at the idea that this guy's gonna die. So it's very interesting to see where this is gonna go. And his whole story to me was the most meat of the whole thing. Because to be honest, a lot of this stuff was just kind of like, super flashes of like, okay, we need to find the other Lord of Chaos. And it was just kind of like a bunch of, I mean, it connected, but it was just a bunch of like, at one point I was a little bit confused because it's like, all right, they're showing us the Flash with Lord of Chaos, but then they're showing us with Clarion, the bus whole thing where it's like, the whole cycle. It was like, okay, where are we focusing on? I was kind of lost for the focus for a one point.
Yeah. So this episode, the thing that anchored it was definitely Zatara's origin story, which essentially, he got a lot of help from Kent Nelson, which was, I guess, not the original Dr. Fate, obviously, but like to us as viewers, we viewed him as the first Dr. Fate that put on the helmet. Mm-hmm. So it was nice to see him again, and nice to see like how he fit in terms of the story from back then. And it's also nice to hear like Zatara narrating and saying like, oh, I had to make sacrifices to become a hero. All the good stuff that comes with, like a hero's journey and whatnot, that was highlighted, and it at least helped us build a connection with the character, and not by default, but just by like as a consequence, we feel more connected to Zatanna as well because she's part of that story.
Yes, exactly. That's as far as the origins goes. I love it, and I love where they're taking it. And we're finally seeing his perspective through, and it's funny too because his whole, out of everyone's quote unquote backstory, especially because they always have like the voiceovers, his voiceover actually plays a role in the story because he actually saying this to Naboo. So this was all him speaking to Naboo about what's happening. So that's what I loved about it too. It played an element within the actual story itself, other than just entertaining or showing the flashbacks. Yeah,
I like that. I like that a lot. I mean, they pretty much did that for like the Stranger talking to Vandal Savage as well. So, I mean, they sort of been doing that, but I guess not for Artemis's arc, where Artemis just did a lot of voiceovers at random points, and it wasn't like her talking to someone.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good. I mean, I will say like I would prefer if like it was an actual like we get to see it happening in real time, like a flashback or something. Sort of like how we saw Orphan's origin story happen.
Yeah.
But it's fine the way they did it overall. It is a little like plain. Like there wasn't too much to it, you know. It's just sort of him deciding to be a hero, joining the league, and then everything else we pretty much already knew, like him becoming Dr. Fate and everything.
Okay, so with that being said, another thing that we also wanted to mention, and I brought this up, is the Clarion bus thing, right? So
yeah, I don't know what's going on.
This was interesting because I could have sworn when the first episode of this arc, I could have sworn it was Zatara who did some spell to get rid of the bus. I don't remember Clarion just making it. Maybe it did disappear because Clarion did the thing, but it's interesting because now it kind of connects to why we were seeing this whole bus to begin with.
Yeah.
So
I thought that was funny. I mean, like everyone's confused about this bus. It's like, what is this bus doing? Like, but now we get to see what's going on, and in some ways, I'm like very confused at how all of this works. Like, doesn't Clarion need a familiar to anchor him? Not exactly like a vehicle. I don't know. Can a vehicle? I suppose a vehicle can act as a familiar. Yeah. But he's sort of like possessing it at the same time. So yeah, it's very confusing how the rules work. I kind of wish they clarified it just a little bit.
Yeah. I was also confused when I first saw him going back in time, which was like, wait a minute, is this gonna conflict with the time? Like, because I don't remember the bus being disappeared in the timeline. But then again, if it's just a bus, I guess it doesn't really have much of a significance. So it's like,
okay, that's rude. How about those young kids, huh? Are you trying to say don't have a future?
I don't know. I originally, when they showed the flashback with Superboy and Superman, I was like, oh, are we gonna see oh my god, Mary and her her like this is how she's like first sees a first superhero. So I thought they were gonna kind of bring those two or those kids again in the flashback, because it's like we're traveling back in time. But other than that, I was like, okay, they're just doing different dimension stuff. So it was interesting re-seeing those scenes again as well.
Yeah, but does that mean like a Lord of Chaos can just travel through time or something?
Yeah, that's another thing.
Yeah, it's kind of introducing a lot of things that are kind of like worrisome for like the story.
Yeah, that's curious, because then with the legions of superheroes, which we saw them now. Now I wonder how that plays with their time travel thing. Like, I mean, if a Lord of Chaos can just travel through will.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll get some answers in the next episode. It looks like Clarion's gonna team up with Zatara probably.
Yeah, I mean, finally. I mean, of course, we knew it was gonna happen, but it's like, I'm glad they're finally moving forward with the plot, with Clarion trying to team up with Zatara, because it just seems like we knew it was gonna happen, but Zatara didn't. I don't know. That plot line of them joining together just didn't seem like it was moving, and now it's finally moving.
Yeah. Here's my issue with this episode, though. I feel like a lot of it was
filler?
Sort of ripped off.
Oh.
not really filler. I didn't consider it filler, but I just felt some of it was ripped off of like the Beetle drones. You know how like at the end of season 2
they had to stop all the Beetle drones kind of thing.
It felt, I mean, I like that when it happened in season 2, but it just feels like the same beats, and it's like, I don't know, they ended up in the Arctic again at the very end.
That's true. That is so true.
And it's just like, it's a lesser version of that, because we barely even get to see the heroes like do their thing, and like they sort of all come out of nowhere. We don't hear about it. We don't get to see people's reactions. Like it just sort of feels all rushed to me. Even, I mean, the season 2 thing also felt rushed at the end, but then like this one felt even more rushed. And for me, I couldn't really enjoy it that much, but that's just me. That's just my opinion. Yeah. While watching it.
I agree with you. And this is tough because, it goes back to the way Young Justice is, because Young Justice is meant to be a show that's supposed to deal with like, I don't want to say small issues, but they're meant to be like undercover, right? And that's the whole thing about that they're the team, you know, we're the undercover agents. So it's meant to be, the whole point, they're not meant to be on the spotlight. But then when you have problems like this where it's like global, how do you balance that out, right? And then it's like, in this scenario, you know, it's like, this is a global problem. Like, it's not like a problem where it's like, oh, it's just, you know, if we don't do this, like they presented this problem to be really that. So it's tough.
And it's also, I want to understand, I mean, like, I get it. You don't really understand a Lord of Chaos, that they just want to cause chaos. Yeah. And that's their whole purpose. But to me, from a storytelling perspective, I still don't really like that much. I like the fact that Clarion, you know, finds it fun to do stuff with Vandal, and it's like enjoyable for him. But then for Child, there's not much there for me. It just feels like, why not just blow up the Earth at that point? You know, like I don't know. It just seems like she's giving the heroes so many chances to like fight back. But I guess maybe that might be the point. But I don't know. It just feels like a very empty character that doesn't care about anything except like destroying the world. Very, very one-dimensional, I suppose. But also like in season, I keep comparing it to season 2, but that's just the way I like to see it. In season 2, at least the Black Beetle had a reason for wanting to destroy the Earth, like, to cover up the fact that the Reach was there.
Yeah.
Like so there's a motivation behind it, and I get it, you know. For this one, I don't understand the antagonist's like purpose or like what they're trying to do at all. Like, to me, it just feels like a weak villain. Weak in terms of like narrative standpoint. It's just like, oh, I just want to cause chaos.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is just like, I guess they just want to cause chaos. And also, it's weird that the Lord of Orders, if I'm correct, because I think Zatanna asks a question for Naboo about like something along the lines of like, yo, isn't the Lord of Orders gonna come in and help? And they're just like, we don't. I guess there are weird rules where it's like they don't want to all interfere.
That's not how they roll.
Yeah, basically, which is like, if I'm correct, that the reason why that Lord of Chaos is so strong is because it has like most of them, like all, like there's a bunch of them inside that one entity, so it's not just like one.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. So I don't know what's going on. And another question is, like, I know they explained that they just weren't cool with Clarion, but I also want to know why now, out of the whole timeline, they just start attacking Earth now, as opposed to like the other years.
Exactly. There's just so much missing from the villain standpoint that I feel like we need if we want to like get a good story from this. Otherwise, it was just like watch the popcorn flick action between magic people fight each other, which is cool, but like at the same time, I expect more from Young Justice. Like, understand, I'm not saying this to like try and hate on the show. I love the show, but I wanted to like retain the quality that it once had, especially when it comes to storytelling. And right now, to me, it isn't quite doing that. So that's just like me speaking my truth, you know, my opinion. And I'm not gonna just be like easy on it because I love this show as a property. I want to like state my honest opinions.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's what we're here for. We speak the truth here. You know, we speak the truth about shows we love. But keyword, we love them. So that's the point there. But yeah, you have a point on that. Yeah, but other than that, I definitely, to me, I guess the big highlight for me is that this arc isn't over, which I was afraid it would be. So I'm excited to see the next episode.
Yeah, no way, dude. No way.
I am curious
if it was over, it would be worse than the Mars arc. Okay?
I know. I was afraid. That was my fear, because every arc so far, if you notice, it was like at least, you know, 4 episodes. So
this arc makes the Mars, if it ended right here, this arc would have made the Mars arc look like really, really great.
We would have been like, guys, we're wrong about the Mars arc. But yeah.
Again, we don't hate the Mars arc. It's just we think it's like okay.
It's decent.
Yeah. Want to read comments now?
Yeah, I think that's the next thing. I was hoping we could read comments now.
All right, I'll go ahead and go first. All right, Wally West said these episodes are. By the way, these comments are for the previous episode 11.
Yeah.
All right. These episodes always feel so short, but this one was wild. I liked getting more backstory on Naboo and how he became Dr. Fate. Seeing Sergeant Marvel was great, and getting some background on Zatanna's proteges. They really are hinting Khalid will take over next. But now I'm hoping with episode 12 and 13, we'll primarily focus on Zatanna since we already have established the other characters' backstories. And yeah, that's somewhat true. I mean, like, it's more like Zatara versus Zatanna for episode 12. Maybe 13 will be more focused around Zatanna. Like, that's my hope.
Yeah, that's our hope. I'm assuming, because the way they build it up, it seems like we're gonna finally get some Zatanna storytelling. So I'm looking forward to it. So
I guess in their own way, this arc was trying to like highlight each character in their own episodes.
Yeah.
But giving more attention to Vandal Savage. So last episode was Zatanna's proteges. That's the main like characters that get some backstory. which honestly I did like last week's episode a lot more than this one.
Yeah, I don't know. This is iffy. Yeah, the more I think about it, I might have to rewatch it again, but I kind of, I don't know, maybe the preachiness of last week's episode really annoyed me, but but other than that,
because the part that I liked about this episode was Zatara's backstory, and then the part that I liked about the previous episode was that we get backstory from characters. Like, I feel like we're just missing that, you know, like we're not getting that enough of that. So anytime we get that, I feel like I much prefer that over like this random craziness that's going on.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll give it that.
But that's just me.
I guess for me, I don't know. There were some cool, despite it was quick, there were some cool moments. Like, for example, with Fate, and they give the magic to Fate to stop the other Lord of Chaos, and then it shows how overpowered this Lord of Chaos. Which brings me an interesting question: like, how are they gonna defeat this Lord of Chaos? Like, this Lord of Chaos seems super OP. So
yep.
But we'll see.
You know, that was a cool scene, but for me personally, I just don't feel enough stakes. Like, for me personally, I don't feel like, I feel like I knew nothing was gonna happen. Like, it was predictable that Child was just gonna like beat him out.
Yeah, that's fair. It is predictable. But I guess this next comment, and I'm just gonna summarize it. Basically, she was talking about the whole with the Beast Boy being like that she likes the idea that this character is actually going through a traumatic experience, and we can see how they experience. Basically, we can see how they taking it like more realistically, as opposed to like the whole happy ending situation where a character goes through a problem and then the problem's solved within like a 22-minute episode. I can see that. You have a fair perspective. I guess our issue is just that when it comes to storytelling, there needs to be something. It's not about Beast Boy necessarily solving his issue. It's about taking action to solve his issue. That's the problem here. And it's just that for us to just see him depressed and he doesn't do anything to try to solve it, that's a little bit underwhelming, especially considering that this arc has like a bunch of other stories going on. So it's like, if we're not seeing some progression, it's kind of just like, why are we watching it, kind of a thing. But it is, I guess when you think about it from a different perspective, it's cool to see that, you know, your character is sad and it's not just something that
I can definitely appreciate the fact that, you know, it's being shown for the sake of like, you know, like showing what a hero goes through after something traumatic happens. But I would like for it to be a bit more substantive in terms of like maybe him trying to get therapy and then it not working. Yeah. Or like him talking to people and having like good conversations with them, but then still being in a rut after that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this episode actually showed a bit more, which I liked, which was him like doing like a job that he has, and then like the people not really appreciating him doing that job, and sort of like making the money or making the product their number one focus, and like ignoring their workers or Beast Boy as like a human being. So this episode did it better than the previous ones, I would say. Like, if all of them were more like this one, then I would have appreciated it a lot more.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, Zack Ryder said, if Beast Boy is so desperate to keep his negative thoughts away, why doesn't he just transform into a hibernating animal so he'd avoid being awake? Yeah, and so on, and then he can wait to get Black Canary's counsel.
Yeah, that's what advice. I was wondering. Why does he not have Why is Black the Canary not doing therapy for Beast Boy?
Yeah,
that's an interesting question.
Yeah, I thought this comment was pretty funny. I don't know if he can do that. I mean, like, he obviously gets abilities from the animal, but can he hibernate as one of the? I don't know. That's a very good, interesting scenario that you brought up.
Yeah, that's a very interesting scenario. Okay, this comment says, I did love seeing Mary Marvel's addressing her history, because I love Mary Marvel and her history with her brother Billy Batson, which makes me so happy. Yeah, Mary. That's another point that I also we should have forgot to mention, was the whole that Mary was taking powers without permission. So that's a very interesting thing about her powers.
I mean, that's like foreshadowing. I feel like that she's gonna do something in the next episode that rubs people off the wrong way. Either that, or she's gonna have to transform into she's gonna have to say Shazam, and we'll see what happens with that, because I can't see them beating Child at all without like going full out.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I cannot see that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, King Ataru says, the lack of Zatanna focus in her arc is baffling to me. At least the previous arcs had significant focus on the OG characters in their arcs. Yeah, that's what we've been saying.
Thank you. Somebody in the comments who actually relates to us. It seems like everyone just has a different opinion, which we don't mind, but it's like we like to have someone who at least understands where we're coming from. So thank you, man.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. The next comment from Seth and Griffin. I'm starting to think that the bus is just a Magic School Bus reference. Well, we've all thought that too until this episode kind of revealed it was more than that. So
yeah. So now we finally understand well, actually, I don't really understand what that bus is necessarily, but at least we have an idea that it was Clarion all along, the cause of all of that craziness. I'm curious.
I wonder in midpoint when they're creating this arc, they realized, wait a minute, we always have scenes with buses. What if we all made them connected? Because I really didn't recognize how many scenes they had with them saving a bus until this episode. I'm like, actually, that's fair. There was a bus in this episode. So
yeah. All right. Shanley Samboy said, Mary Marvel design looks great. Yes, it does.
Yes.
When she Shazams, it does look pretty good.
Yes. Will we ever see it again? That's the question.
I'm sure we will. I'm fairly confident we're going to see something in the next episode happen that's interesting.
For sure. But yeah, that's about it. Remember, guys, put your comments down and we will read it for the next one. And don't forget to like and subscribe. So, yeah.
All right. Peace.